Wrong one at the start. Hey guys, how you doing? Nick Jennison with Guitar Interactive and GI Plus. Thanks for joining us. It's Monday. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and talk about the guitar. And to be honest, that track, it's just a perennial favourite of mine. It seems to be one of your guys' favourites as well, based on what you're telling me. I love jamming over that track, but the only issue with it is you can just go forever over it. So hey, thanks for putting up with that extended intro jam. Wanted to take a moment to thank you guys before we get on. We are discussing some cool stuff regarding expressive techniques today, but first of all, thanks for joining us. If you are a new viewer, thanks for taking a chance to joining on a stream that you haven't seen before. It is great to have you on board. If you are a recurring friend of the stream, it's great to have you. We couldn't do these without you guys. Speaking of which, if you'd like to support these streams, there's a few ways you can do so. First of all, and probably the most obvious way to do it, is you can give us a thumbs up on whatever platform you're watching on. You can give us a subscribe if you're on the Guitar Interactive YouTube channel, for example, or whatever platform you're on. And of course, you can consider checking out the lessons at GI Plus. See this down here? This URL. I'm just going to have to look and see if I actually got the right thing there. Yeah, this URL down here. This is how you get your GI Plus lessons. Now, we've been speaking to a bunch of GI Plus subscribers over the last couple of weeks. If you have any questions regarding GI Plus, or you have maybe you want some guidance, don't be afraid to reach out to me personally. You can find me on Instagram at Nick Jennison. That's my name, no spaces, no anything else. And I'm happy to talk shop with you guys if you want a bit of guidance as to which course you might look at next. We've got some good results for at least a couple of our GI Plus friends. Speaking of which, I wanted to take a moment to remind you guys that today's stream, look at this, is brought to you by Elixir Strings, specifically Elixir's electric strings. Now I've got a bunch of these in my drawer, and I've put a set on this guitar today. Feels really, really good. I have 2 sets left, right? And I want to give these to you guys. I also have some of the acoustic strings in the old packaging that I would also like to give to you guys. So we'll work out a way that we can do that over the course of this stream, and we'll pick some people at random. It's not going to be a contest as to who's the best guitar player. We'll just pick some guys at random, and we'll give you some strings, and I'll post it to you. Also, in addition to that, why don't you want my rock slide? Right? Last week I mentioned that I was going to send this to one of you guys if you tagged me in a video of you playing slide. Well, nobody's done it, right? So tag yourself in a video of you playing slide. Don't be afraid if it's something you're new at. If you just want to have a go, I'll send you this slide. This is a medium glass rock slide. It's a bit too big for me, but it's the one that Ian Simo uses in his course, Slide Guitar for Standard Tuning. So if you want a rock slide, you can have one for free. I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you. You don't have to pay a penny. Just tag me in a video of you playing some slide, and I will send you this slide. Anyway, let's touch base with our stream, and then we'll get on to the meat of today's session. If you haven't done so already, grab a guitar because there's going to be some jamming. But in the meantime, let's see who's in. Marcin is first through the door. Good evening, guys. Stretching my fingers on the Strat tonight. Very nice. That's probably a really good shout, actually. Strats are a good choice for what we're going to do this evening. Maybe I should grab my Silver Sky, which is definitely not a Strat. Except it definitely is, but it's definitely not a Strat. Anyway, no, it's not. I'm joking. Cowcat is tuning in. Cowcat is normally playing a dirty Wolfgang EVH. Can we take a moment to appreciate how good Wolfgang Van Halen was at the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert? Man, unreal. Just like a tremendous rendition of his dad's guitar parts, which were pretty outrageous, to be fair. I mean, that whole concert was just unbelievable. I mean, what a fitting tribute to a great musician. Who else do we have? Marcin says, Cowcat's a cool guitar. I agree. Mark McNish says, hi everyone, I've got a Yamaha Pacifica 612 today, which was his first electric. Now, I had a Yamaha Pacifica 612 when I used to teach for Yamaha. It wasn't mine. It belonged to the school I was teaching at, but I decided I wanted it to be mine, so I just grabbed it, and I'm like, this is mine now. I had to give it back when I stopped teaching, but hey man, it's a great guitar. I think they're absolutely killer. They do this thing with the tone control that other guitars don't seem to do, where it kind of becomes more honky. I don't know if it's as much a bug as a feature or whatever, but I really dig it. Who else do we have? Marcin's first guitar was a Jackson Kelly KE3, which turned out to be a terrible choice. That licensed Floyd still gives me nightmares. I was wondering where you were going with that, because I like Jacksons, and I especially like the Kelly shape. Bit of a Marty Friedman fanboy, so maybe that's it. Who else do we have in the stream? Larry Warren is on a date with his wife. There we go. That's all good. It's happy Labor Day to everyone. And says down here, today's holiday in Canada. He and his wife are going out on a date. Larry, you've made the right choice. You can always catch this stream on the playback. So if you guys want to catch any of our other streams, subscribe to us on YouTube, Guitar Interactive. You can catch all the streams that we do on the Guitar Interactive YouTube channel and a bunch of other stuff. Who else is in? Let's see. We're going to skip over review because we've got loads of friends today. PJ says, hi Nick, hi everyone. Great to be here again. Great to see everyone. Guitar rock, peace, love, and I like where that came from. I know what that's all about. That's good. If you know, you know. David Yates is in the house playing his AZ7 string because his Strat's in need of a setup. I've played a couple of these AZ7 strings and they are killer, right? Really, really frighteningly good. Gotta say, the factory setup on them is a little stiff for my liking. I don't know what Ibanez are getting into this factory setup thing where everything's a little bit stiff. For me, Ibanez should play like butter, but it's really easy. I mean, you literally need to take 2 seconds with an Allen key and then you've got it playing like who knows what. But they're great guitars. I really, really like them. Sacred Godslayer says, should have been the first to comment because I was suggested the stream yesterday. Entered and comment, which was blatantly cheating. Yeah, it's got to be on the same day, man. But hey, I don't know whether I want to give it to you. Who knows? Sacred Godslayer has been using the same Les Paul all summer because it resists well to sweat gank. You know what else resists well to sweat gank? Elixirs. Just saying. Brought to you by Elixir Strings. Hey, we'll talk more about that later on. Sweat gank is a really interesting thing, and you're in a hot country as well, my man, in southern Europe where it's very, very warm, and where people from my part of the world like to go and visit for obvious reasons. Anyway, let's crack on. Who else do we have? DMAC Pro is in the house. Hey man, it's great to see you. Says hey all. Frank is in the house. That should not be cured. It's natural. It's referring to the cure for guitar cravings. Yeah, I'm getting big time gas at the minute, and I don't even know what. I'm getting weird studio gas. So I'm in the middle of rebuilding my studio right now, and I have the strangest gas for the SSL Bus Comp Plus, which is a 2-channel SSL bus compressor, like the hardware version. And I'm like, God, have we moved on to that? Do I need hardware compressors now? I don't know. Who else in the house? Rory Lisman's in the house. Kim the Big Boss in the house, no doubt watching from somewhere warm. If not, then from sunny Romford, which is still warmer from where we are. Good evening from London, UK, says the team at Guitar Interactive. How's everyone's practice time been this week? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. James Fair is saying hi from Glasgow. Hey man, it's great to see you. Who else do we have in the... wow, this is a name. I'm just going to say Panu. Hi from Geneva. Wow, that's a hell of a name, and I'm terrible at pronouncing names. But hey man, it's great to see you. Chris Brown is in the house. I'm loving the videos that Chris is tagging me in. You guys, tag yourselves in my videos. Tag yourselves in videos on Instagram. Tag me, tag Guitar Interactive. I'll give you this, right? Or I may give you some of these that I found in my string drawer. So there's some elixirs. 9 to 42, and then 10 to... oh dear, drop that. 10 to 47. You can have them. You can have them. I'm going to send them to you, but we'll work that out. We'll work that out this week, and I'll send them to you next week. And also, a quick reminder, got any questions, drop them down below, because we would love to answer them at the top of the hour. Let's see what else we have. Thomas Ross says, hey Nick and everyone, hope you're well. I'm very well, thanks man. Picky Man is tuning in. We got some love for the Silver Sky. I need to explain why I haven't used the Silver Sky on the stream. It's because my tube amp expander is here. Literally, I'm touching it right now, right? It's really, really close to where we're set up. And unfortunately, with true single coils that are in the Silver Sky, the Silver Sky gets really upset by being that close to the tube amp expander. I don't know why, but it screams. So if I open up the volume control, I'll see if I can do it in here. Doesn't really do it there, but you know, on single coils they get very upset being that close. That's why I haven't used it yet. Maybe if I can move myself further this way away from the tube amp expander, then maybe I will. Who knows? Wolfgang was more than great, says Cowcat. I absolutely agree. Thomas Ross is playing a 1976 Shergold Masquerader. I love the new Shergold Masqueraders, man. Like rosewood necks at that price. Absolutely unbelievable. Keena Page says, how's it going? Very good, my man. Thanks for joining us again. Fog Hornish is in the house. Who else do we have? And says hello sir. And Chris Davis, last comment in, says yo peeps. Chris, it's great to see you. So anyway, let's get cracking with the meat of today's session. Today we are continuing our discussion on expressive techniques, but we're talking about a slightly different approach to expressive techniques and how you can cultivate them in your playing. Specifically, this week we're talking about cultivating dynamics in your playing. Cultivating dynamics. The reason dynamics are important is the same reason that dynamics are important in speech, in mixing, in playing in your band, all sorts of things, but they're also a little deceptive. So what I want to know from you guys, I'm going to take a quick, maybe like a minute's worth of jam over a track. I'm going to try and play some stuff with a reasonable amount of dynamics in it, but I'm also going to use quite a lot of gain. And I want to know from you, dear friends, let us know in the comments, what do you think of when you think of dynamics, right? So let's just get this really simple, right? Let's say, what are dynamics? What are... let me just write this out for you guys so we've got it in front of us while I'm doing the old jam. What are dynamics? Here we go, right? So that's a good question. I want to know from you. I'm going to jam. I'll take a quick minute and we're going to play it over the modern prog ballad because that's really good fun. It's in E minor if you want to jam over the top of me. Here we go. Some answers coming in. That's probably enough jam for now. We're going to leave that up there because I still want your answers, right? I want to know from you guys, what are dynamics? Now, we've got some answers, but maybe not the answers we're thinking in here. We've got some very good ones coming through, though. Very good ones. Okay. Christopher Brown says Robin Ford is the first player that springs to mind. Now, that's really interesting because Robin Ford is a master of dynamics, but here's a good one from Frank. Frank's got a really solid definition of dynamics here, which is the difference in volume for each chord/note. But it does go a little deeper than that, right? Here's another one. When I think of dynamic playing, I definitely think of expressing certain licks, and Guthrie Govan, another master of dynamics. What else do we have? Playing hard and soft. That's pretty much the top end of it, I guess, really. That's pretty much the top and bottom of it is what I'm trying to say, not the top end. The top and bottom of it. We also have some things saying dynamic, touching mind, not just guitars and ears. That's a very good definition of playing that is dynamic. But in dynamics, what we generally refer to as dynamics in music is volume. It's how hard or how intense are you playing something. Now, it's interesting because when we think about dynamics, we think about it as loud and soft. But our perception of loud and soft is not always the same as actual loud and soft. I'm going to talk to you about a clean tone for a second. Let's go to a clean tone. Now, I have a couple of cleans set up here, right? The first one, I'll knock my delay off because we don't want delay on this. Or turn the reverb on. Let's try this one. Let's knock that off. Can I knock this off? There it is. That's a nice straight up clean tone. Now this is about as clean as my tone gets when I play the guitar, right? I'm generally not a clean sort of guy, but this is fairly clean unless I'm playing big ambient sounds. But that's quite clean by my standards. So quite a clean sound in the grand scheme of things, and I think you'd struggle to find guitar sounds that are much cleaner than that. Certainly not on recordings. Now, we do get a little lost in this clean trap as guitar players, where we feel like cleans have to be the absolute whistle cleanest of clean with no distortion at all. Generally speaking, those kind of sounds don't really translate terribly well in your playing, and they become kind of excessively dynamic to the point where they're difficult to handle. I have a question. Has anybody ever played an older piezo pickup, right, on an acoustic guitar, or piezo or piezo, I've heard some people refer to it, where you play something really soft, or you play something just like, let's say for example, you have a 50% hardness in terms of how much you're hitting it. If you hit 49% of your hardness, it becomes inaudible. And if you hit 51%, it just like pierces the audience with spears of treble. That is a sound that I refer to as excessively dynamic. And it's not a very pretty sound. It's not a sound that we like to play through. So generally speaking, when we think of good, clean sounds, which are the most dynamic of guitar sounds, I guess, in terms of volume, in terms of being able to play soft and being able to play hard, they're still quite compressed. So most guitar sounds that we play through don't have a lot of dynamic range in them in terms of being able to play very soft notes or being able to play very loud notes and have them be very soft or have them be very loud. But that doesn't mean they don't sound very soft and very loud. Let me take you on a little walk here. So I've got my clean sound. So there I'm able to create the perception of notes that are quiet and notes that are loud, but all of the notes are basically the same volume in terms of actual volume, in terms of, you know, this is a quiet voice and this is a very loud voice. You get the idea. There's not really any of that. I don't want to do that too much in case we deafen anybody who's watching on headphones, because I've got a pretty loud voice when I want to get loud with stuff. But I mean, yeah, so if you grab your guitars, we can try this together real quick, right? So I want you to experiment with this stuff, and we're going to see if we can cultivate some dynamics in just your clean playing. We're going to take a really simple exercise, right? We're going to take a simple exercise which is going to look something like this. Let's go to the close-up cam. So real quick, we're going to go to fret number 5 and fret number 7 on your A string and your D string, right? And let's play A5, A7, and then D5, D7, like this. Just to give us something to play. Now, it doesn't really matter what we play. I'm going to cough, excuse me one moment. Ah, there we go. It doesn't really matter what we play. This is just a vehicle to play some dynamic stuff. So we're going to play this, and let's see if we can play it together, and we'll see if we can make it as quiet as we possibly can. Let's start at a medium kind of volume, and let's see how quiet we can make it. And I want you to observe in your own guitar playing whether it actually gets any quieter. It helps if you're plugged in for this, because if you're doing it unplugged, then yeah, sure, you know, you'll be able to get a lot of big dynamic variance. But plugged in, even through a clean sound, not so much. Let's find out. Okay, here we go. Let's kind of medium. Let's go really quiet. That's as quiet as I can get it, and this is the cleanest sound that I have at my disposal. Let's go loud. How loud can we go? Starting to get to the point where it's collapsing on itself there. Now, that level of dynamic range that I'm playing with there, that was as extreme a dynamic as I'm able to create, right? I'm literally just tickling the strings on the softest notes to the point where it almost feels like I'm going to drop my pick or I'm going to miss the note entirely, whereas on those kind of like louder notes, I'm absolutely battering the string, and you can hear the tone change. But interestingly, the actual volume doesn't really change that much, and this is exacerbated more when we play through the type of sounds that we use when we're being expressive, because it's very rare that you'll play through this type of super clean sound when you're trying to be expressive. So this, you know, this sound is cool, but it's very rare that you're going to use that when it's time to play over something like this prog track, for example. Just doesn't really translate that well. We need something with a bit more drama in there. Even if we're playing blues, we need a little bit more something, a bit more shedazzle. So let's maybe go to a medium gain sound, right? This is where things start to get interesting. this is probably a little closer to the kind of sounds that you guys will be used to playing through, especially if you're playing blues stuff, for example. Let's do the same exercise again. Let's go back to our 5s and 7s and let's see what happens. Let's see if we can actually cultivate some dynamics here. Let's see if we can actually get some loud and soft. And I want you to let me know in the comments if you can do this, right? I want you to let me know how you get on with this. So as a quick reminder, it's 5 on the A string, 5 on the D string, 5 on the A string, 5 on the D string. I'm going to go to my split coil sound to give me even more dynamics if I want it. Let's start at a medium attack. Let's go really soft. Let's go louder. Loud as I can get it. Now, interestingly, literally all of those notes were at the same volume. Literally every single one of them was at the same actual volume. If you measured them on a wave, if you recorded that, it would come out pretty much, not flat, but they'd largely be the same. This is because even guitar sounds with this comparatively little gain are fairly compressed. But that doesn't mean that we can't cultivate some dynamics in our playing. We just have to do it in other ways. So let's go dynamic spotting, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some stuff and I want you to tell me in the comments, how am I creating dynamics in this example? We're going to play some blues because blues is fun. And I've got a sound that's appropriate for some blues. So let's maybe try our slow blues in B. So we're in B if you want to jam along. It's a dominant blues. Let me know in the comments how you have spotted that I'm creating dynamics in this track. This is the sound I'm playing through. So it's not a very gainy sound. It's kind of a low to mid gain sound. For reference, this is gain 1 at 12 o'clock on the Victory Super Kraken through a greenback cab, I think. No delay, a little bit of room reverb. That's it. So let's take a listen. Maybe we'll have a little bit of delay. I'll turn that track down a tiny bit. Just knock it down a tiny bit further, just so we can hear the guitar a little better. Ask and you shall receive. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. Copyright reasons. So, okay, so there are some really interesting spots here. Marcin's nailed it, right? He said note choices and the force difference applied to those notes. Now, here's the thing. I am still playing different notes, harder or softer, depending upon the type of vibe I'm trying to evoke. So if I want a soft note, I'm still playing it softly, but it's not coming out any softer in terms of volume. It just has a different tone. And this is more to do with your perception of dynamics rather than the actual dynamics itself. Blue Sumlin's nailed it using slides. That's another way to get them. What I'm actually doing when I'm doing this stuff, Blues Curl is another interesting one. What I'm actually doing when I'm trying to cultivate these dynamics, when I'm trying to cultivate dynamics in my playing, is I'm trying to emphasize and de-emphasize certain frequencies in a pitch. Now, here's the thing. There is a phenomenon in acoustics called the Fletcher-Munson curve. Right, the Fletcher-Munson curve is basically something that dictates that it's a phenomenon that happens in human hearing. There are certain frequencies that we are more sensitive to than other frequencies. We're more sensitive to very low frequencies below 100 hertz, and we're also more sensitive to a very particular band of the frequency spectrum between 2K and 5K, which are these kind of like upper mids. Now, for you who aren't engineers out there, aren't audio engineers, it's kind of what happens when you push your wah pedal towards the toe and things get a bit bright and a bit spiky, I guess. We're very sensitive to those frequencies, and by playing with the amount of those kind of frequencies that are in your tone, you can create a perception of dynamics where there maybe aren't any. So let's do another one. Let's go to the kind of like super crazy high gain sound that I like to play through. And I'm going to play through this sound, right? This sound, which is my super high gain sound. You can probably hear the hiss has started already. I'm going to go back to that blues in B. First of all, you'll notice that I'm probably a little more comfortable, but I'm going to try and cultivate some dynamics in that sound, some loud parts and some soft parts, even though it's a very compressed tone. Just for example, we're going to go to that loud soft exercise again. Here's like soft. That's literally as soft as I can play. Here's loud. That's literally as loud as I can play, right? It's almost like it's ironing out all those dynamics, but that does not mean that I can't create dynamics in the playing with the way I'm approaching certain notes. So let's spot them, and then I'm going to see if I can show you guys how to create this in your own playing. Here we go. So even though we're dealing with the most compressed of compressed sounds, we're able to create some different dynamics in terms of loud and soft, or perception of loud and soft in our playing. Now, this is something that we can do with a bunch of different things, right? A bunch of different things, but we've had nail on head from David Peterson. David Peterson has said palm muting and harmonics. Well, what happens when we palm mute a note? Well, when we palm mute a note, things get quite dull, don't they? They don't have a lot of sustain. It almost feels like a closed mouth. It feels like you've gone from going ah to ooh, or to one of those kind of sounds. And that's like a meme. Somebody wants to do ah, Anyway, that's gonna gonna come back and bite me. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff on those streams. Anyway, in those previous streams we've done loads and loads of memeable moments, I'm certain, but even still. So, what we might get is, we've got it right here. Okay, getting quieter pulls the listener in like an actor speaking at low volume or whispering in a movie. Heard Alan Holdsworth say, maybe Alan Holdsworth, say he exercised with his maximum volume on the amp and touching really softly with the dynamics. That's probably a few people said this, but Tim Pierce talked about that. It's very, very cool, right? But this is a good point, right? Getting quieter pulls the listener in like an actor speaking at low volumes. Now, the way we achieve this with a very compressed sound, the sort of sound that we can be expressive through, not that super, super clean sound, is we do it with harmonics, and we do it with the amount of harmonic that's in our pitch, in our notes. So the first and most obvious way to do that is with the pickup selection that we use. So I'm going to go here. Hopefully you guys can see my pickup selector. You cannot, but it's there anyway. You'll have to trust me that I have one. So if I go from maybe my front pickup, which is here, to my back pickup, or my neck pickup to my bridge pickup, depending upon how old you are, front pickup, back pickup, I kind of like that. Anyway, if I go from there, if I play on my neck pickup, we're back on the clean sound. That neck pickup sounds a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit less, it's a little less forward in your face. So it doesn't sound quite as loud as the bridge pickup does. It sounds a little smoother maybe. But we can also play with how hard we're hitting the string. So if we really lay into a string, this is one of the reasons why I like thin strings. I play 9s as a rule of thumb. I do these days anyway. I have been playing 11s on these streams before, and they're cool, but they tend to minimize your dynamic range when you're playing through dirt. They sound great when you're playing clean, but when you're playing through dirt, they tend to minimize the dynamic range, or you certainly have to work harder for the dynamic range, which I'm not a fan of. Why would you want to work hard? Work hard all the time on other stuff. Anyway, what I'm saying with this is if you really dig in and you really clatter into the strings, things get really bright, and they can get bright in kind of an unpleasing way, but it can also sound loud, like this. So for example, so really laying into those strings can sound very, very loud and very, very aggressive. But also, you'll notice that between those loud and aggressive notes we're playing, there were a load of notes that didn't just go ah, this sort of went This for me is important for setting up the dynamic, because if every note goes ah, like this, like no notes really have a dynamic about them. They don't have any dynamic about them because it all feels like it's the same. So these notes here, these little palm muted notes, or these short notes, or these notes that I'm not playing as loud, they're very important, because that difference, that contrast in versus ah, is what makes you hear those ah notes as being loud. Let's play with it, right? Let's grab our guitars, we're going to jam, right? So we're going to go back to our prog ballad in E minor. In fact, you know what it is? We did that last week. Let's do the cinematic ballad in A minor. A minor, right? So grab your guitars, we're going to be in A minor. This is our cinematic ballad, because somebody mentioned actors. I need to find the thing first, so we've got a hot second. We're going to play with the idea of comparing and contrasting palm muted or short or dull sounding notes versus bright aggressive sounding notes. I'm going to encourage you to get your favorite distortion on for this. Then I'm going to show you where this application might not work, but for the time being we're going to have some fun with this. Let's just find it. Where on earth have I put it? Tell me I haven't deleted it. Hopefully I haven't. We can always grab another track if I have, but here it is. Okay, sweet. A minor. I'm going first. So let's see if we can get something interesting going on here. I'm going to the close-up cam so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to give you some ideas. So we're contrasting these kind of notes, these kind of palm muted, almost like you're not quite getting them. These kind of ghost notes, I guess, versus these kind of. Ooh, got a weird harmonic there. You take a turn. I'm going to throw my delay on, because delay makes this stuff better. It's just a better maker. A little tiny bit of delay to keep me happy. Alright, my turn. I'm going to take a pass. see if this is going to apply. Right, Mallory's is the best tonus from the neck, more beautiful. Well, let's go to the neck, because we can still do this stuff with the neck pickup. It's still a lot of fun. We're getting to the intense section here, so I'm going to take the neck pickup. My turn. Your turn. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance on this, because we're just starting to play with this sort of thing. So let's have a bit of guidance, because it's easy enough for me just to go, hey, just do this. But let's talk about guidance with this. So I'm going to set you to a few more parameters. The first and most obvious one is where you place these dull or shorter notes to contrast against your brighter or more singing notes. Something I like to do, this is a little trick, is I'll play a note twice. I'll play the first one kind of dull, and then I'll play the second one kind of bright. Again, the way I'm getting that is either with palm muting or just a gentle strike versus a harder strike. Now, what you might get is something like this. Let me find a pitch for that. There's one. There's one with a slide. That's fun, because that duller note, the duller version of that note before we play it, that is a really great setup. It makes us hear the louder version as loud. Loud. So anyway, another thing we're going to do with this is we're also going to place our duller notes lower in the frequency range. Generally speaking, I mean, you can play dull notes high and then go to a low note that screams like this. But generally speaking, these little low notes as setup notes for a higher note sound really cool, right? So there's a few things to play with. We're going to play with doubling notes, dull then bright. Again, the way we get that is soft pick versus loud pick. A few other tricks that I'll show you how to get this in a moment. And we're also going to contrast low, dull notes versus high, bright, or singing notes. Let's do it along with the same track, right? I'm going first. I'll take the freeform bit, because that's a little harder to play over. Close-up cam. Here we go. Let's go right here. You can take a pass over the cool chords. So we're contrasting dull, low notes versus bright, screaming, singy high notes. That's what we want. So it doesn't have to be very different. It doesn't have to be super low versus super high, but maybe something like this. I think I put myself out of tune, but you can take a pass. I got a bit lost in my own nonsense there. That's what we're looking for. All right, my turn. Here we go. Turn, you get the good stuff. All right, we'll take one more pass each, then I'll show you some practice tips for this. Your turn. So you can even do it on fast stuff. You even do it on fast stuff, which I think's cool. I like that sort of thing. All right, I'm going to finish that there because it's one thing me saying, hey, just do this, but that's not what we're here for. You're here for me to show you how to do this, or hopefully at least. Let me talk to you about a tone where this is maybe not going to work, right? So we're playing through a very compressed tone here, but it's a tone that has some room for dynamics. Now, normally the way this works is, even though the tone is very gained out and very, very compressed, I've got a lovely comment, compliment from Keenan Page. Actually says, Andy James, some player. We got courses by Andy James, by the way. Yes, some player, and great tones, and a really, really tasteful ballad player. But yeah, the tone does kind of help. So if you're playing through a tone that doesn't have a lot of actual dynamics in terms of being able to play loud and soft, but you have to be able to manipulate the amount of top and bottom in the sound. Some amps that just don't let you do this, and I apologize to anybody who loves these amps and uses them all the time. Marshall JVM just can't do this. Maybe you can do this. Maybe you're a better player who can do this, and you're a better player than me. I can't make these things through Marshall JVMs. I used to love my Mesa Boogie Mark IV for this reason. Perhaps the tone wasn't the most pleasant. It was a little bit strident, let's say. But man, you could really, really, really do this stuff. Fresh strings help, by the way. Just a quick plug for our friends Elixir. I want to give you these strings, by the way. If you want some nines, let me know. How is the best way to do this? You know what? Best way to do this, tag me in some playing, right? And put in the comment or send me a message saying, I want some nines, and I'll send you some. Alternatively, if you want some acoustic strings, I'll send you those too. Whatever, right? I'll send it to you. Let me know where I got to send them to. I will fire them out your way. And also, I want to give you this slide. See, I'm trying to give you some stuff, right? What I'm trying to say is I've got too much stuff, and I'm trying to give you some stuff. Anyway, tones that maybe won't work for this. So if I go from my my beautiful ballad lead sound to this is my Fuzz of the Apocalypse, and it's tremendous, right? It's a great fuzz. I love that fuzz. It's the biggest, ballsiest fuzz. Let's throw the octave on top. Let's throw that Fuzz of the Apocalypse on top of an already distorted tone. Little more difficult to do this stuff through that kind of tone because it's a little crushed on the front of the note. It doesn't let you do a whole lot with what's going on the guitar. It does its own thing. Now that's kind of fun because I quite like doing that sort of thing. I'm going to switch to a different one. I'm going to switch to the worst pedal of all time. The worst pedal of all time, which is also the best pedal of all time. It's a Boss Heavy Metal, right? It's the Wazacraft reissue, but it sounds like this. Now, I love this pedal because it sounds bonkers. A really interesting way, but there is no dynamic in that pedal. You can't do a damn thing with it, right? If your tone is like that, in that you can't really get any dynamics out of it, a couple of ways you can address it. Rolling out some low end sometimes helps. Using a brighter set of pickups helps. Changing the strings helps. Lighter strings can help tighten stuff up too. Heavy strings I find quite hard to do this stuff with personally. So if you're like using 12s and stuff, maybe that's your jam. That's cool. But for me, I feel like the iron out the dynamics a little too much. It's more difficult to get the brightness out of them, I think. So light strings can really help. Turning the gain down a tiny bit or turning the gain up a tiny bit might help. It's just something to play with. So yeah, if those tones aren't there, maybe that's not it. So the way to cultivate this is, as per usual, we cultivate it in our practice sessions. We cultivate it in our creative practice sessions. Got some practice templates coming your way, by the way, because I know you guys are kind of a little confused as to how to structure a practice session, or at least some of you are. So I've got some templates that I'm going to be adding to the GI Plus membership. Perhaps I need to shoot the videos that go along with them first, so we'll get the videos shot and then I'll get them uploaded, because I think that'll be fun, like something that you can play with and a way you can templatize your practice. But for this, if I was to try to cultivate this dynamic, I would use the kind of tone that I'm expecting to play with, which would be my super mega gain tone, and I would try and find a simple exercise. Maybe I'd take I don't know, let's take the minor pentatonic, because somebody mentioned here, this is a good one, right? Can you try playing the major pentatonic with the root on the 5th note of the root chord underlying it? Andy Timmis does that, it sounds cool. So what I guess we're talking about here is like B major pentatonic over E. That can sound really cool, sound very, very cool. I actually have a lick library course called Creative Pentatonics Part 1 that talks all about this. So if you want to go and support our friends at Lick Library, hey, you know, you can do that there. Creative Pentatonics Part 1 by me. That might sound like this. Great sound. I agree. It sounds very, very cool indeed. It gives you kind of like a pseudo major pentatonic, a pseudo major scale thing, or a pseudo Lydian thing. But what I might do, let's stick with that idea, right? Let's say we're going to play in B major pentatonic, right? I am going to set myself the goal of, I'll find a backing track that works in E major. I'll play B major pentatonic like this, for example. That's where I'm going to play it, but you know what? Let's play it here. That's a place everyone knows, right? There's a B, it's box number 1. It's big shape, little shape, little shape, little shape, big shape, right? Fret 7, there's B. We're going to play those, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set myself the goal of playing straight 8th notes, and then on the first note of every bar, do I want to do the first note of every bar? I'll do every 4 notes, let's say. I'll set myself the goal of really making that note scream. And every other note, I'm going to try and keep them dull. And the way I'm going to achieve this is just by thinking about dull sounds. So I'm going to think about playing it softer, maybe palm muting, exploring ways to make notes sound dull. So what I might do is this. There's 4 notes. There's 8th notes. Something that becomes quite tedious to listen to after a while, but it's a really productive way to practice this stuff because it gives you immediate feedback as to whether it works or not. So if you're playing stuff and you're going, well, that's not producing the sound that I want it to produce, change it. Right, find another way to do it. Search for ways to produce the sound that you're trying to produce. Use the criteria that we always use when we're practicing this stuff, which is, do I like this? Is this the result I want? And if the answer is yes, cool. Figure out how to do it more, or make it more the result you want, or make it more consistent, or do it in places where it's harder to get that result. If the answer is no, figure out why it's not and what you can change to get that result. So let's do another example. Let's say I've mastered that. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the every 4th note. So not the first note of every 4, I'll put it on the 4th note of every 4, so it'll be dull, 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 bright, dull, 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 bright, dull, 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 bright, which is going to be on an upstroke. So that's going to be challenging in and of itself. So let's find out if that's going to work for us. Same track, let's go from here. And same exercise. That's harder, but that's okay. I ended on a different one there for some reason, but that's okay, because I would correct at that point. So this is the way that I practice this stuff. And then once I feel comfortable doing it on a single scale, which you saw me doing there, I would start to maybe just improvise freely with that. So what I'll do here is I'll improvise freely, and I'm going to contrast the idea of playing 4 dull notes against 4 bright notes. The actual exercises aren't that important, right? It's about just challenging yourself to do the thing and to search for ways to do the thing. So 4 bright notes versus 4 dull notes. Here we go. B major pentatonic or something in E major. It doesn't really matter. I'll stick with B major pentatonic because it was requested. So let's turn my guitar back on. 4 bright notes versus 4 dull notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's harder than I thought. Let's go again. Becomes quite tough, but once you've done this for a little while, you start to develop little habits, and you start to develop little, I guess little cues in your playing where you can do this stuff, and then you can start to improvise freely with this concept, where you don't set yourself boundaries per se, you just improvise freely, and you go, I'm going to make some notes loud, some notes quiet, and you might get something like this. And then you can make the rhythm free, and then your phrasing. Then you have... There we go. All that sort of stuff. Here we go. Elixir strings, please. Just broke high E. Oh, no. Oh, no. You know what, Blue Sumlin? You got him, right? Let me know. You can have a set of 9s. They're yours. We got one more set of 9s to give away. These are my strings, by the way. These just came out my string drawer. Let me know where I've sent them. Drop me a message on Instagram, and I'll get them out in the post to you. For the rest of you guys, if you want to not win, that's not the word, want me to give you some strings, just tag me on Instagram when you're playing, with you playing, right? tag me on Instagram with you playing, and let me know whether you want some electric strings or some acoustic strings, and if I have enough, I will send them to you. I only have 9s for electric, and I only have 10s for acoustic, but as we've already discussed, light strings are cool. Anyway, we're going to turn our attention to the Q&A. We're going to keep it short this week, so if you have questions, drop your questions down below. I would love to hear from you guys, so drop your questions down below. In the meantime, just want to take a quick moment and remind you of our current latest release on GI Plus. We got loads and loads of good courses, but this right here is Ian Simo's slide guitar for standard tuning. You want a slide? Tag me in your slide playing. I'll send it to you. Trying to get rid of some stuff here. Anyway.
Hi, my name is Ian Simo and I'd like to share with you my course on slide guitar for standard tuning. This is a 10-part series in which we're going to explore the essential slide hand techniques and pick and hand techniques. We're also going to take a look at rhythm playing with the slide. So we're going to look at how to integrate the slide with major and minor triads. Really enjoyed putting this series together. It comes complete with some backing tracks for all of the example phrases and exercises so you can practice along, and it comes complete with tablature and notation for all the example phrases and exercises. So if you've been interested in getting into slide, I highly encourage you to check out this course, this 10-part series on slide guitar for standard tuning.
Hope you spotted, while we're watching that little solo there, or those solos, hope you spotted the way that Ian generated some dynamics in his playing there with the staccato notes versus the longer legato phrases. Slide is great for that, by the way, but you have to be quite careful with the touch. You can't really lay in with the slide because it bounces well, you can, but it makes it a little more difficult to get a long sustained pitch if you really dig in with the slide, because it kind of rattles off the slide a little bit. It can sound a bit weird. Definitely something to check out in Ian's course in terms of dynamic control as well. Got some great questions coming in real quick. Want to highlight some of these right away. We're going to start with Blue Sumlin. Switched from Alnico 5 pickups to Alnico 2, much warmer and better for dynamics. Now this comes back to here, depends on pickup. It certainly does, right? And I actually have a great guitar in my hands that I can show you this with, because we have Fishman Fluences in here, which are very dynamic pickups. One of the reasons why I like them so much, but they have a mode. So these are the classics, and the only mode in here that I don't really use is I don't use voice 2 on the neck pickup very much. So the way I have it wired is I have, bridge pickup, both pickups, neck pickup, and then I have this little 3-way toggle, which takes me from single coils through to voice 1, which is the PAF on both pickups, and then if I go all the way down, it's voice 2 on here, and voice 1 still, the same neck pickup voice on here, because it's a little more dynamic sounding, whereas if I pop my volume control right here, that brings in the voice 2 on the neck pickup. So that sounds a little more like this. It's a bit, I guess, a bit fatter. So I'm going to pop this out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But the pickups do make a difference for this stuff. So, for example, if I go from here, here's my neck pickup sound. Let's pop it. It's a very cool sound for getting some harmonics on a note, but it doesn't really have the same level of articularity and the same level of, I don't know, articularity, is that even a word? Level of articulation. It doesn't allow me to be as dynamic as I like it to be. So that's why I tend to stick with the other voices. But it is cool for that John Sykes type sound as well, where everything's just like, and that's kind of a fun tone as well. Want to highlight this question too. Very good one from Cowcat. Very, very cool one from Cowcat. It says, thoughts on using the pad of the finger instead of the tip for muting reasons. Yeah, I mean, like, I personally don't have a problem with this. I feel like people get really absolutist about certain techniques when it comes to the guitar. They get really absolutist about certain ways that you have to hold the pick, for example, or certain ways you have to move the pick, or certain ways that you have to fret a note, let's say. But pad can work really well. What we're referring to here, by the way, I'll see if I can show you in the close-up cam, hopefully I can, is this is fretting a note with the tip of the finger. This would be fretting a note with the pad of the finger. Now, I don't think there's a problem fretting notes with pads of the fingers, otherwise this wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to get bars to work at all, or rolls, if we couldn't fret with the pad of the finger, right? So it does work. I think it does kind of work. One notable exception to this, a notable exception to whether the pad, fretting with the pad is a good idea, is on hammer-ons. So hammer-ons can be a little difficult to get really convincing with a pad sound, and they can be a little noisy because that muting thing can come back and bite you, because muting is great. We want to keep noise down, we want to keep handling noise down, especially when we're playing through lots of gain, but if the technique you have introduces as much noise as it prevents, it can be an issue. So I had this problem for ages. I couldn't work out why my legato was what's the word I'm looking for? Noisy, I guess. One of the things was I was hitting way too hard, and it was almost like doing this to the, what I'm gonna do, let's see. How can I do this, right? I'm gonna mute this string, and if I really bang on this string really hard, even though it's muted, all the other strings want to come in. So I was banging really, really hard, making the other strings super noisy. But this setup I had, where I was playing with the pad of the finger, like this, to mute the next string, when I was playing with hammer-ons, the fact that it was in contact with the next string, that was causing problems, because, you know, my finger's in contact with the next string. I was hammering both strings at once, which was a bit of a drag. So what I would suggest with this is, for Cowcat, why or when you can and? There are occasions when it's perfectly okay to fret with the pad of the finger, when that muting is the most important thing, but there are also occasions when it's better to fret with the tip of the finger. Probably suggest that it's probably more useful to fret with the tip more of the time, but I feel like you should be able to do either. And I don't think we should be absolutist about it. Like, if you fret a note with a pad, let's say, for example, you're recording the best guitar solo of your entire life, and you fret a note with a pad, and you go, no, turn it off, delete it, we're going again. Even though it sounded like the best guitar solo I've ever played, I fretted a note with a pad. Psh, bad. We don't think in those terms. If it sounds good, it is good. And if it doesn't facilitate you sounding the way you want to sound, then throw it out. If it does facilitate you sounding the way you want to sound, then keep it. So, yeah, I have very strong feelings about this, but I don't have strong feelings one way or another, if that makes sense. I feel like there's times for both, if that makes sense. More questions, real quick. We'll do these very, very quickly. A lovely compliment here, by the way. Nick, one thing I would totally steal from your playing is your pinky on fast legatos. Dude, right, my pinky was the worst finger for the longest time. I'm going to show you this, right? Look how hilarious this, I'm going to do the Steve Vai thing. Look how hilarious the difference is in these fingers, right? I have pretty long fingers, especially this ring finger. That is really, really long. Right, it's a long ring finger. Look at this tiny pinky. It doesn't even come up to the knuckle on my ring finger, right? It barely even comes up to the knuckle on my index finger. This knuckle here, it's a short little pinky. Doesn't really have a lot of length or a lot of strength on it. It's pretty thin too. So getting that working was a total drag, but it just goes to show, you know, like if you practice enough, it's gonna happen. There's absolutely definitely not a genetic advantage here. This is not a Paul Gilbert pinky that's like having another index finger. My pinky is tiny and weedy, unlike the rest of my fingers, which are massive. But a big Steve Vai hands apart from this one, which is kind of irritating. It's like, God, I don't know. It's like Steve Vai, John Mayung. Although John Mayung does pretty well for himself. Mal Riley, do you... Dinky Pinky. It is Dinky Pinky. Do guitar players with long fingers make better guitarists? Tom Quayle has tiny fingers. Do you need any more proof than that? Nope, absolutely not. I have huge fingers. Tom Quayle has tiny fingers. You be the judge. You be the judge. It looks long still. I guess it's long in comparison. I'm 6'3". I'm a pretty tall guy, so I guess it's long in comparison to most people's, but it's pretty short in comparison to my other fingers. And getting these two fingers to cooperate was extra hard because of it. And the way I got around it was I did this lick loads. You know, the Malmsteen thing where we go... I would just do that tons and tons. That became my lick. And then... I put little extra doobly-doos in there and all that sort of stuff. Bernard has said, or Bernard has said, funny, I just started looking at creative pentatonics last week and it's very inspiring. Love the way it's organised and presented. Hey man, thank you very much. That's really kind of you. I had a great time putting that course together. I have got a part 2 coming, but I don't know who it's going to be through. I don't know if it's going to be a GI Plus thing or a Lick Library thing. Django Reinhardt. Only 2 fingers. For real? Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And did just fine. My whole life, I've had my mom's pinky. It's really only a problem with 3-note string pull-offs, and they're always looking for workarounds. My man, the workaround is to use it. Just use it. Use it, and you'll get there. I promise. I guess we're looking for good ways to do this. We got off track. There was a question I wanted to answer. Just going to quickly get on this one real quick. 22 versus 24 fret guitars. Which do you prefer? I like them both for different reasons. I really like 24 fret guitars. I like the position of the neck pickup for shred. Right, I feel like it's a little clearer for the old shred thing. So my 24 fret guitar, I only have one. That comes out with Blitzkrieg. Because that's a shred band. It's a shred. It's a metal band, right? I really like 22 fret guitars, like this one, for the clonky tone that you get in the neck pickup. It's a little more expressive, in my opinion. I think that's really the only difference, personally. I do find the fretboards a little easier to visualize on a 24 fret, but not so much that it bothers me, if I'm honest. It's more a case of I tend to prefer hardtail guitars and PRS guitars, which I love, they're my guitars. They tend to be 22 fret models with hardtails. Finding 24s with hardtails, quite hard to get hold of. If I could find one, I'd have one. Just want to quickly highlight this one, right? Obscure Guitar by Skip Newman. I want to show you an exercise that you can use to develop your pinky finger strength, right? We're going to do the classic old school spider exercise, which is this guy right here, where we play. But we're going to target this on the pair of fingers that we don't like, which is the pinky finger and the ring finger. And we're going to target it by playing more repetitions of this combination. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, like this. Now, here's the thing. What I want you to do with this is I want you to pay attention to not keeping your other fingers down. Let your other fingers come up. Generally speaking, one of the reasons people struggle with pinky stuff is because when we get to the pinky, all the other fingers are already held down in position. And holding those fingers down, it can work, but it can also lead to a little bit of tension, which is going to rob your pinky of the dexterity that it should have. If you just flap your pinky like this, then you put all your fingers down and try and flap your pinky, you'll notice that it's significantly harder. So doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, that can work really well. Another fun thing to do is do the same exercise, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, but go pinky in between each one. So 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. So like this. That's quite hard. That's quite difficult to do, but that is a bit of a head twister. It's kind of interesting though, because it's kind of self-limiting because the exercise is quite hard. And the hard nature of the exercise makes it self-limiting in terms of speed, which is kind of cool because it means you get all that pinky exposure without necessarily becoming frustrated at how fast or unfast it is, because your other fingers are struggling too. But we are getting more reps on the old pinky. So that's a fun way to build up some pinky strength, I guess. Is to just design exercises or adapt existing exercises to give your pinky more of the notes. It's a fun way to do things. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it there. Just a quick reminder, this stream has been brought to you by Elixir Strings. If you want some strings, go check out Elixir's socials. They are linked down below. Good friends of the stream. They've been kind of sponsoring a bunch of us. They're going to be sponsoring next week as well. Hey, so to that end, I want to give you some strings. I've already promised a set of these to Blues Sumlin, but I've got a set of 9s here. You can have them. I've got 3 sets of acoustic strings. They're 10s, but 10s on acoustic are great. Just telling you right now, they're fabulous. If you want them, I want to see you play. Right, so play me something. Doesn't have to be great. It's not best player wins. I just want to see you play something. Tag me at Nick Jennison on Instagram and tag at Guitar Interactive Magazine on Instagram. Let us know that you want the strings. I'll message you and then you can tell me where I'm sending them. In the meantime, Blue Sumlin, send me a message, tell me where I'm sending these. If you want to slide, I want to see you play some slide. This is the slide Ian used in his course, right? So play me some slide, I'll send it to you, right? Free stuff. Can't say fairer than that. In the meantime, my name's Nick Jennison. I will see you next week for more expressive techniques. Let's jam out on the ballad because the ballad is good fun. I'm going to stick on this one because it's here. See you guys next week. My name's Nick Jennison and it's a pleasure to introduce to you GI Plus, the brand new lesson platform brought to you by Guitar Interactive. We've assembled a team of the best players and educators in the world to bring you exclusive lessons covering everything from metal to blues to fusion and everything in between. Want to level up your shred chops? Check out How to Play Fast by Andy James. Or how about sweep picking with Rick Graham? Or maybe country's more your bag? Well, how about a full-length exclusive country guitar course from Andy Wood? Interested in learning how to play over changes? Well, members get access to hours of exclusive lessons from Fusion Maestro Tom Quayle. Or maybe you want your playing to sound more soulful. Well, who better than Chris Buck to show you how it's done? Or perhaps you want to learn the secrets of the masters. Well, members get access to over 60 feature-length tech sessions where our tutors painstakingly decode the styles of players like David Gilmour, Eddie Van Halen, John Petrucci, Larry Carlton, Slash, Tosin Abasi, Paul Gilbert, and many more. You get all this along with exclusive live webinars, free backing tracks, competitions, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for GI Plus today.